Hey everybody, welcome to Pinksters podcast live. You are brought today by Pinkster C and Diesel Dog Shane.
Hello.
We are going to spend the first 5 minutes saying hi to anybody that comes in. We are now live over at Twitch, so hi to everybody at Twitch. Also on YouTube and also on my Twitter. I am just going to confirm that I am live on all of them. I think we've reached everybody this time. Hope everybody is having a good Tuesday. You rearranging the mic?
Yep.
I did that on purpose, just
Yeah.
to get in your face.
Just to hide me from the world.
So today's podcast is around depression, guys. I just want to, while we're waiting for everybody to come in, I just want to give a trigger warning to anybody that will be watching this. This podcast does contain sensitive content around the subjects of mental health, depression, and real life experiences. For the record, for the video that will be featured within 24 hours on my YouTube, which will be uploaded there, all mentioned names and mentioned stories of real life experiences have been given permission for Pinkster's podcast to include their tagged names and stories to be featured on here. Good morning, Mello. Good morning, JC. How you doing, lovelies? I hope you are both well.
Good morning, Valentina.
Hey, Bex. How you doing, lovely? That's Bex girl.
Okay.
What's it? She's over on my YouTube, whilst also multitasking, doing a doing a Zoom call. We won't tell if you don't. I'm doing good. I'm glad you're doing good, Mello lovely. It's really hard to know which one to look at.
Just look at that one.
You're doing good, Jay. How's the project coming along? I hope you got your issues sorted out yesterday.
Yeah.
Too early to tell until my caffeine has kicked in.
I've got 2 cups today of coffee.
I have my tea. I'm being good.
Hat front or back?
I don't know. Let's ask the people. Diesel Dog Shane's hat at the front or at the back?
Backwards or forwards?
He's a bit self-conscious today about his hat. I'm doing great, thanks, lovely. I'm glad you're doing well. I hope we're not disturbing your Zoom meeting too much. Morning, Sky. How you doing, lovely?
I miss my beard. Can't play with it now.
Yeah, we decided to have a bit of a groom and a bit of a change for the Christmas period. You know, as you do. Right, guys. So again, I just want to are you literally just woke up, Sky? I miss my beard too. Did you cut it off, Mello? Or just trim like Diesel did? I just want to emphasize again, everybody that is watching this live or is watching this back on the video on YouTube, which will be uploaded within 24 hours after we come off live, that there is a trigger warning as there is content in this that is sensitive around the subject of mental health, depression, and people's real life stories. I didn't sleep very well. Oh, that's not good, Sky.
Neither did I. Someone kicked me out of bed.
Well, you know, some people do need to have some sort of sleep. It's itchy, that's why. What's it? Are you talking about Mello's beard? Right, guys. So I'm going to start, as I'm very wary that we run over time last time. I'm presuming it was your beard, Mello, that she was talking about, and not the bed. So a lot of people come to me, whether that is on Twitter, on Twitch, my YouTube, Discord, around the subject of depression. So we're going to focus generally on depression today, but on future podcasts we'll be delving into more specific types of disorders around depression. So everybody, or a lot of people, have asked what depression is. So rather than giving my definition of what depression is, I am going to jump onto Mind. So according to Mind, depression is a low mood that lasts for a long time and affects your everyday life. In its mildest form, depression can mean just being of low spirits. It doesn't stop you leading your normal life, but makes everything harder to do and seem less worthwhile. At its most severe, depression can be life-threatening because it can make you feel suicidal. What have I missed? What have I missed? Yeah, his beard is itchy, so I got him to cut it off. Has he literally gone like down all the way, or
Baby smooth.
baby suit? If he has, I want to see that. That would look really cool. You have to pop a picture in the Discord, Sky. So guys, we're going to be talking in and around depression today. There are many different types of depression. These are, I'm going to give it like a little list, but they're not limited to these. I'm very, very aware that we only have the podcast for an hour to an hour and a half. This happens every time it comes up. So I'm only listing a few. So please don't feel upset or anything if I haven't listed a particular disorder that is around depression. Do feel free to add any into the chat if I have missed them. And do feel free to talk a little bit about your experiences, ask questions. And when I do the real life experience stories, if you have a question or a comment, please do write the number of the story along with your comment, just so we know, because we've got a few of them today to read out, which one you're referring to. No, he trims it every now and again. Yeah, so does Diesel. He actually looks quite dashing today, bless him. He's Christmas ready. So there are many different types, but they are not limited to. So you have major depressive disorder, MDD, also known as clinical depression. Major depressive disorder is a mood disorder characterized by a number of features. A few are changes in weight, depressive mood, and changes in sleep. You also have persistent depressive disorder, which is PDD, which refers to a type of chronic depression present for many more days than not on at least 2 years. It can be mild, moderate, or severe. One that many of you will also know is bipolar disorder, which is a mood disorder characterized by periods of abnormality, elevated moods known as mania. I always get this one wrong, so if I pronounce it wrong, I apologize. You've got postpartum depression, PPD, sorry, is when pregnancy can bring about significant hormone shifts that can often affect a woman's mood. Depression can have its onset during the pregnancy or following the birth of a child. I know a few people that have had that particular one. You've also got atypical depression. You may be diagnosed with this if you are experiencing a depression that does not follow what's the fault of a typical presentation of other depression disorders. And finally, the last example, because we're coming into the Christmas period, is seasonal affective disorder, which is known as SAD, SAD. This is typically characterized if you experience depression during the winter months, but feel fine in spring, summer, etc. It is currently called major depressive disorder with seasonal pattern. So those are the few examples. Like I said, these are just a selective few examples of the depression disorders, and I know that there are many more, and we will explore them examples in upcoming podcasts. If you do want to mention any others, do feel free to bring them up. If you do want us to do a podcast around any others or any of those specific ones, do feel free to DM me on my my Twitter, which I would never ever get this right that way, which is above me. So guys, all my socials are around as well, which you can find me in any of them. I'm most active on my Twitter or my Discord as well. I have BPD. How do you feel about BPD, Sky, in relation to depression? So how depression can show. So whilst each disorder has its lists of symptoms, some examples of generalized depression are as follows, but again are not limited to. So do feel free in the chats anywhere to share your experiences of how your depression comes out. We've got low moods, extreme tiredness. I can really relate to that one. Feeling sad, hopeless, or self-critical, again can relate. Severe feelings of stress or anxiety, pointing back again to our previous podcast around anxiety, and irritability, which is something that I do quite a lot when I have a low mood. Like I said, though, these are just a few. So if anybody else has any other ways that they come out, do feel free to mention in the chat. It's hard to deal with some days. Makes me feel very worthless and depressed, as I really struggle with keeping relationships and I'm always tired. I also a lot of the time snap at those I love. Yes, I can relate to that an awful lot with my depression, with my CPTSD as well. A lot of the time I find things overwhelming. I exhaust myself very, very quickly. So I can definitely relate, and I'm sure that Diesel will agree with me here. I can be pretty snappy as well when I'm having a low mood day, as I'm sure you'll admit that you're exactly the same, Diesel.
Yeah. Every day.
We have our highs and lows. Thank you for sharing that, though, Sky, with us. So we're going to go on to talk a little bit around our own experiences. I'm not really going to talk about a lot of my experiences because I'm going to do a podcast based on some of my stories. When I'm a little bit braver, will probably be next year, obviously, because there's only a few weeks left in this year. But we're going to pass over to Diesel and let him share some experience around his depression and how it came about.
I was roughly 18, 19, and sitting in the local park with a load of friends, as you do. And I just remember a sudden feeling of weight on my shoulders, and as if I was being dragged down. And my depression lasted about 9-ish months, or I was on medication for it for about 9 months. And I just didn't want to do anything. Didn't want to go out of bed. Didn't want to eat. Didn't want to sleep. Didn't want to see anyone. It was horrible. Friends come around, see him, come get me out and that, but like, no, I've got stuff to do here. Make up things just so I wouldn't have to go out and see them. And I took myself off depression medication because I started becoming reliant on it, and it's not something I wanted to do. Can't remember what it was, but I remember every time I took it, I'd get hyper. I wouldn't be able to sit still. As in, even now, just doing this, I wouldn't be able to just sit here, and I'll be walking around trying to find stuff to do. But yeah, that's my experience of medication, my depression.
What do you think Do you think that there was a reason behind your depression, like an event or trauma?
Yeah, a bit before my parents split up. That I I used to be very. I bottle up my feelings. I'll deal with them later, or deal with them on my own. And I just think it all just caught up with me at one point. No idea apart from that.
So you mentioned that it felt like somebody was sitting on your chest.
Yeah.
Does it anybody else have experiences around physical feelings like that? Because a lot of the time people will discuss how you're feeling in your mind, but some people don't relate depression, anxiety, things like that that can have also physical features to it. So when I've had things like a panic attack or when I've been in a really low mood, it exhausts me. I go from being really hot, panicky, out of breath sometimes. Literally sometimes it feels like you're having a heart attack on it. Hey Reaper, how you doing, lovely? Hope you're doing well today, guys. Just while we're on that, again, I just want to do this little fancy, I really love the button, trigger warning as well that Diesel's put in place for our podcast, bless him, that there are sensitive subjects around this. So please be aware and do self-care if you are watching this. Is Jay still there? I have an important question to ask Jay if he is still there. Just tired, sleepless. So you guys are doing your podcast today? Yeah, Reaper. So we do our podcast every Tuesday at 11 a.m. GMT. This is our third episode and it is around depression today. We've done one no, Jay isn't here. Oh, I can't ask him my really important question if he's not here. Yeah, so each time we do a podcast, it's either generalized and then we pick a subject out of that generalized subject, or it can be a really random one where we just come and talk to you guys about really random things like what goes in first, the water or the milk in tea, silly things like that. So Jay, myself and you have become quite close friends over the last few weeks, and you've been a follower, well, for a very, 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 very long time. And you make it to our podcasts religiously, even if it is me paying the cats with catnip. I am currently looking for another mod, but I don't mod people unless I'm very, very sure on them. And I was wondering, obviously I know that there's a time difference, but you've made it to pretty much all of them. And other than Diesel, I would like to see whether or not you would like to be my mod on Twitch for my podcasts. Morning all, I am watching, but I'm not in a good place mentally, so we'll be staying quiet. Hey Horridge, I'm sorry to hear that you're not in a great place at the moment, lovely. If you do need to talk at all, either whether that's to Diesel or myself, please do let us know. Just DM us, or we'll be more than happy to talk to you. We can't always resolve everything, but we're there to sort of listen and have a chat. Oh, that's good. Yay, I have a new mod. Okay, sorry, Diesel, kicking him. I will add you on for the next podcast. So you will be my mod. You'll be able to cancel. You'll be able to delete comments.
If you do it from now.
And maybe I might be able to do it now. People just bear with me 1 second. Can I?
Click on it. What was that?
Well, that one. Oh, there we go. Right. So the J, if you now comment, you should have should now be a mod if I've done it right.
Yes.
Yay, there he goes. So
That was easy.
you now have the privilege of deleting comments and just keeping an eye on my chat for me over at Twitch. Just so I've got the extra eyes and ears, obviously, because it's a sensitive subject when I do my podcasts as well. So you and Diesel can mod together for me. Depression is really very common and a very hard thing to go through. Yes, I completely agree, Reaper. Although it is very common, it is very stigmatized against, and very it's not spoken about very often, believe it or not, and it's probably one of many that is quite common. Oh, you're welcome, Jay. Listening to people's problems does feel like a hard stone off their chest. Yeah. Sometimes I believe that you can save somebody's life just through listening. You don't have to know all the answers to everything. Sometimes it's just being a friend, or or just being somebody that's there that they feel like they're being listened to.
Just listening.
Welcome to everybody as well on my Twitter. I'm very aware that people are popping in and popping out. So please do feel free to come and say hi. I apologise if I miss anybody's comments on Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube. We have all of the chats open, and we're trying our hardest to make sure that everybody gets to have their say.
Must do a behind the scenes kind of photo.
Behind the scenes photo?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Take a photo of how everything's set up. And
Oh, all this.
yeah.
When I was really low when I was 15, I took my first overdose. My mum told me I was doing it for attention and that I wasn't depressed. I really was very low, and she made it worse by saying that. I can imagine that you felt an awful lot worse, because there's nothing worse than somebody not understanding. But if somebody doesn't understand, it's okay to say that you don't understand. I just want to put that one out there. I would much rather, personally, somebody say to me, I don't understand, but I'm here to listen, rather than going, you're talking bullshit. Apologies for the language. Trigger warning, yeah. I would much rather somebody be honest and be like, I've heard of depression, I don't understand it, I can't pretend to understand it, but I'm here. I would have so much more respect for somebody that said something like that than to go, don't believe in it. I don't mind someone saying they don't understand. It's when they say that you're not feeling like that. Yes, exactly, Sky. Exactly that. I used to be depressive back in the day too. There was like, mornings are always fresh when I woke up, afternoons are always boring, then evenings are where the depression starts doubting my own value. Yeah, I think for a few people, the evenings are probably the worst, because that's normally when during the day you can keep yourself active, and that's what I find in my experience. I can be active, I can do things to take my mind off it, but when it comes to sitting down, not having things to do, relaxing, I can see Diesel laughing at something, that my mind then has that time to then think, which then makes my depression come in, because I haven't got anything to distract, which is why I want to come onto the self-care for depression. It is really important, guys, to self-care, not just with depression, but with any mental health, or even in general. we can't run on empty. So a few suggestions for depression and self-care around it. Some people like things like support groups, therapy or CBT courses. I personally have tried therapy, an intense therapy after my rape and abuse, but I've never tried a CBT course, but I'm looking at going to experience it so that I can talk about it a bit more with experience. Some people find that exercise is really good. Me personally, that suffers with chronic illness and chronic pain, I can't really do exercise. So for me, it's not a great one. But for others, some people find going to the gym, going for a jog, helps them. A bubble bath, absolutely love my bubble baths. Um, Walks again can be difficult for me. Music, talking to somebody that you trust is a very, very important one. Um, Reaching out to an organisation or charities um, is also another one that can be good at a time that you're either in crisis or just generally want to talk. Wow, this is trippy. My whole view of Twitch has changed. Thanks for letting me be a mod. You're absolutely welcome, Jay. Just be mindful as well around people's comments. So if you just want to familiarize yourself, Jay, with my about section where it's got the rules. So if people do break the rules, they get a timeout first and a warning. Unless it is something that is substantially bad, and then it's just a pure block. Because my community is more important than somebody coming in and saying their thing. And also, there's no self promotion in this, Jay, as well. So if they self promote, it's a straight block on there. Yeah, evenings are worse for me too. But seriously, nobody can decide your own value other than yourself. Yes, so this is something that even I struggle with still. I very much was a people pleaser. I still can be a people pleaser to the point where I exhaust myself out. But I have learned over time that there's only so much one person can do. As much as I want to change the world, as much as I want to be a good person, which I still am a good person, even if I can't
Help everyone.
help everybody. That I need to self-care. I need to take time out for myself, as well as helping other people.
I have a slightly different opinion on that.
Go on.
On what Reaper said. Where nobody can decide your own self-value apart from yourself. Well, I can tell you that Pinkster doesn't always think highly of herself, but I know you lot think highly of her. So you perceive her, or you find her value, even if you don't speak directly to her and you just like her tweets every now and then, as a high, as even if it gets you through a day, as a high value, rather than, because she always doubts herself and what she does
Every day.
every day. So, for instance, value of Pinkster compared to me is I'm not a good conversationist. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, conversationist, Jen.
Or social media, she's
Talker.
amazing at it. But I can do all the graphics and everything like that, which she can't do. So her self-value to me, or her value to me in the social media side of things, is a greater value than mine. But my value myself is a greater value on doing all the aesthetics and things like that is higher than her. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so everybody has
Different values and different
values,
things.
and yeah, I kind of get what you mean.
Yeah, I'm glad you do.
And so yeah, so I self doubt an awful lot, probably more than I should. And it was something that was brought up in my therapy that I went through numerous times. So I have a friend as well that if I achieve something, whether it's big, whether it's small, and even Diesel notices it, I don't acknowledge it, and I have to work at acknowledging something I've achieved. So, for example, for many of you, I'm just going to do the trigger warning here again as well because it's a bit sensitive to some people that may be watching. But I, as a survivor, I went for a smear test, and not only did it bring out my depression and did it bring out my anxiety and flashbacks and everything else, I achieved it. And not only did I achieve it, myself and Diesel come up with the fact that we wanted to make it so that there was awareness around it for other survivors, other women. So we documented it. Diesel edited it for me, made it into a video. We produced it, and for me, although I know it's fantastic, I can't, and I'm happy that it's out there and people are seeing it, and I think it something like 50 views it's got so far, and it's amazing. But in my own personal experience of achieving it, there's nothing. I don't see it. I see it as an achievement, but I don't. It's hard to explain. I don't see it. I can't express it to myself. I can't be like, oh my god, I did that, and so I find that hard. And I always have found that hard. I've found it hard to express the excitement, the happiness, the relief around achievements, whether it be small, big, massive. So yeah.
Did that make sense to everyone?
Both
our
if
things?
not, we apologise. I don't really know how else
The
to
aesthetics
explain.
Hold on.
Where are we? Exercise is the devil's work. Yes, it is, Blue. Some of us can, some of us can't. I've never been a jogger. I don't know why I've never been a jogger, but
I used to not like to go to the gym, but I went. And then one day I was just walking through our local town, and I actually felt good about myself, which is really weird. I've never had that feeling before, just walking down. It's one of the few times I've walked through the local town, and I actually felt good about myself.
I mean, I've in the past I've been to gyms, but it's very much a high anxiety place for me, because although you're all facing one way, I still have this massive thing that people are watching me, even if they're not watching me. They're in their own mood. They're doing their thing, earphones in, not really taking any notice. For me, a gym's just not somewhere that I feel that I can do it. I'm more maybe a person that stands at the back of an exercise class, so I know nobody can see me. But obviously, for reasons at the moment, I can't do that. I'm all about the bubble baths. Bubble baths are amazing, Jay. Amazing. They are thoughtful bubble baths. We all know about thoughtful showers, but they are thoughtful bubble baths. My habit for losing depression was music. Yes, massively, massively, massively. Love music. Love music. It's something in the world that is very underrated. But it can either speak volumes when you're feeling down, or can lift you up when you're feeling happy, amongst other feelings. And yeah. Hey Tim, how you doing, lovely? Over where are you? At YouTube. The aesthetics are amazing and you both complement each other perfectly. Many things can trigger us as survivors, and we just take each situation one at a time. Bravo on both of you. Thank you, Jay. I hope Jay, sorry. I got Jay on the brain. Not like that. Thank you, Tim. I hope you're doing well, lovely. Tim is, guys, for anybody that doesn't know him, he is a extremely loyal Twitter follower as well as a friend. We always have a little bit of a joke on Twitter. And I absolutely love him to bits, as I do all of you guys. So thank you for tuning in, Tim. I really appreciate it. You are a fighter, Pinky. You're a warrior. Thank you, Reaper. Again, things like this. I appreciate it to the core that people see me as that, but I find it hard when people compliment me. But I'm getting better at it. I am getting better at it.
Not for me, you're not.
I do have many people that compliment me and think, so I have people that send me DMs and like, oh my god, like it's amazing what you're doing, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not doing enough. And in my head I'm going, what are you doing? And then on paper I'm going, thank you so much, I really appreciate it, which I do with all my heart. I appreciate it, but in the back of my head I'm going, I'm not really doing that much. I'm not achieving as much as I want to achieve or could achieve. Hey Sluggeth, how you doing, lovely? Morning. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I find it hard sometimes to accept it when someone gives me a compliment. I find it hard to believe people. Yes. Massively find it hard. It's not, I don't think it's so much that I don't believe the person, because I believe what they're saying they feel is true. I just find it hard because I've spent so many years in either different relationships, whether it be family, a boyfriend girlfriend relationship, teacher student relationship, or other. Trying to think of other relationships, but throughout my life, there's been many people that have told me that I'm not good enough, or made inappropriate comments to me. And I was bullied in school as well. So when you've had, I'm not going to say how many years, but when you've had so many years of being told by different people similar things, even though they didn't know each other, it's hard when you start getting other people telling you nice things for you to believe that, that those small comments compared to the big comments that you've had before. Made perfect sense. Very well put. I only jog to the refrigerator and back.
I don't even jog to that.
Diesel doesn't even do that.
I just walk.
I did write about my depression with experiences of myself and from people around me as a small novel. I don't know if I've read it. I've read a couple of the ones that you sent me, Reaper, but I've not read all of them, I will be honest. I've had quite a lot of things going on in real life. So I have read a couple of them. I'm not entirely sure if it's one of the ones. But if you want to resend me that particular link, I will be more than happy to read that particular one. And if I've read it, I'll let you know, obviously, that I've read it as well. Small achievements can make a bigger difference. Yes, I do know that the small achievements do make the big ones. There was actually a picture that Diesel showed me the other day, and it was a ladder, and it was two ladders, and there was people trying to climb it, and there was one
small. It had smaller.
They were both the same size, and there was one that had missing steps and one that had little tiny steps going up, and the one that had little tiny steps going up was higher than the other one because the other one was trying to climb it, but there was a bigger gap, so it was harder. And I really loved that. Really loved that picture. Diesel often does show me pictures of little things like that to try and help me through, especially when I'm having bad days.
Even if she's having a good day, I shall still show
her. I usually avoid situations where people could pay me a compliment. Yes, I do the avoidance thing as well, Porridge. More so beforehand. Not so much now because I'm trying to train myself to accept things. So I do little techniques that my therapist showed me, um, and with practice and repetitiveness, she reassures me that within time that hopefully I might be able to actually one day surprise myself and accept a compliment.
I just try to avoid people.
um, where are we?
So don't think your
Oh,
achievements are small, because the small things are
are
small
the
things.
start of something.
Yes, baby steps.
They
Everything.
will change the world. I'm not sure they would change the world. If I'm honest, they
The
might,
start.
but it might do the analogy of starting a ripple in the ocean, which is something I'm happy with as well. Hey Nico, how you doing, lovely? I'm happy to finally catch a stream. Oh, thank you, lovely. We're happy to have you here.
Welcome.
Where are we? Sorry, I was just checking Twitter. Hi, everybody at Twitter. It doesn't always come up with the comments because you have to do this weird thing where you
I'm
scroll.
checking it.
So I am trying to between things, trying to
It
make
still
sure
does
that
come up on there.
nobody's being missed out. Uh, it's super hard to believe a compliment when you grow up only hearing negative things about oneself. Yes, totally agree. And although I had positive things said about me as well, that the negative things far outweighed the positive things. Um, so yeah, I can completely relate to that. If someone says if someone says negative stuff enough over the years, can make it harder for when people say the opposite. Yes, sluggish. Um, it it became to me pretty much impossible um to accept a compliment, to the part of when I first met Diesel. It frustrated him because I could never accept a compliment of any sort. And it's only been since I was in um therapy and met Diesel that I've been working on being able to take that compliment, um, and not only take the compliment but also recognize the compliment. I'm very bad at recognizing my achievements to the point that I even have to write them down so I can look back at them when I'm feeling a little bit better as well, which I find that helps quite a lot. Um, but then again, I'm antisocial and avoid people in general. Yeah, Blue. Diesel does that a lot. If he can find a way out of going out or socializing, Diesel is the guy to have the excuse to do it. So he
My
can
hair
pretty
needs washing.
much he can pretty much come up with it. It's the butterfly effect, Pinky. Yes, it is. I do love the butterfly effect. Absolutely love the butterfly effect. I find it hard to talk to people about what's going on in my life as I have been given so many negatives that I worry that I will disappoint. I will be a disappointment to people and they will be ashamed of me. I recently had a choice that I made and I was scared to talk to my auntie about it because I thought I would disappoint her, but she said I could never be a disappointment. She just wants me to be happy and safe and that she will love me no matter what. Oh, she sounds like a really nice auntie, Sky. Um, I get what you mean. In IRL, I find it hard sometimes to talk to um people about how I'm feeling, even if it comes down to me talking to Diesel. Sometimes I have a tendency to try and resolve it myself, which doesn't always work out. And then I have to talk to Diesel um, about it because I know that locking things up will fester with me um, and put me into a spiral, which is not something I'm willing to do anymore. Um, so I can completely get, that the whole thing around not wanting to be a disappointment to others. Um, although watching this podcast has cheered me up and I broke my staying quiet page to myself.
Well, Horish, that's what this podcast is all about.
Yeah, we love you here. We love all of you guys here. This is exactly what the podcast is about. Diesel is right. It is about sharing things, being a community, loving each other, giving each other a voice, listening, that and many, many more. So we're happy that you're here, and we're even happier that
You feel better
you
now.
feel better and that you're able to talk. I do believe that kindness will change the world, that people don't seem to get with the program and keep being shit to themselves. Yeah. I am very much a big advocate on being kind, not only to other people, but to yourself as well. I do believe kindness will change the world as well. And I try to each day try to represent that through things that I do and say. But it is one situation where I've been scared to tell someone how I feel because I have always been told negatives. Yeah, completely get that.
I don't like being the centre of attention. I do like to be the background character. I'm exactly the same. I'm the one sitting in the corner.
Reaper, let you in on a little secret. I'm exactly like that as well. And the thought of our wedding coming up, or our wedding that was meant to come up, and being centre of attention, being a bride, petrifies the living days out of me. Believe it or not, although I am sitting here confident or appear confident to many people, it takes an awful lot out of me, and I have to self-care after I do each podcast, as I do not like being center of attention at all. But I do this because I'm passionate around helping others, and for that I put myself in that light to help other people, because even if I can save one person's life, then the Pinksters awareness movement, the Let's Smear It to Clear It, the Pinksters podcast, my petition, anything that I'm putting forward will be worth it. Right, guys, I am very, very aware that there is still more comments, but I've looked down and we are nearly an hour and I haven't even read any of the stories that I promised people I'm going to read. So I've noted that there it looks like a pink cupcake. So after the pink cupcake from Nico, I will I'm going to read some stories now. So we're going to do a little trigger warning here, guys. The stories that are coming up have been consented to, in written consent, the names to be used and the stories to be read out. The trigger warning around this is that they are very sensitive subjects, around depression, around people's experiences. So if you don't want to hear it, please do feel free to mute us. Thank you for loving the trigger warning, Jay. Diesel did it. It just makes it a bit more visual for people that may have muted us at the beginning as well.
Last time, I think I took note of it.
So I'm gonna read a couple of stories. So guys, we will come back to the comments that you have got on there. Again, please do bear with me because I get emotionally involved when reading people's stories. For anybody that is listening and I am reading your story, I apologize if I make mistakes, or if I have to stop, breathe, and what's the word I'm looking for? Recuperate and come back. Please do feel free, like I say, to mute, and please do be mindful if you are commenting on a story experience, to have the person's thoughts and everything at heart, and please do be kind. If you do put a comment in the section, please do list it, story 1, story 2, story 3, just 1, 2, 3 or anything like that, so that when we do read the comments back, we know which story experience that you are talking around, so that we can answer what you're saying. So story number 1 was given to me by Miller's TV. Again, permission was given. Bear with me. This is quite a lengthy one. I have had depression since I was around 16 to 17. I am now 32, and it is something I have coped and not coped with for a long time. So my depression was caused by a childhood trauma of abuse. It's funny because although that was the primary cause, it doesn't feel like it is. What happened has been part of my life for so long that it feels normal to me, and sometimes I get surprised that other people didn't have that kind of trauma happen to them. But depression side of things, one day when I was around 16, I just became down. Every day seemed to get worse through looking back, as you don't sort of realize it at the time. The worst thing is, it tones down really happy events in your life without you really knowing about it. I have a beautiful wife and son, but I still feel like depression stops me from enjoying those moments with them. Not all the time, but it's something that I have come to accept will never leave. You have your good days and your bad days. I find good sometimes. I find good, sometimes dark sense of humor has a great defense and warrior mechanism against my depression. I have found doctors who I've experienced still don't know how properly to deal with depression and resort to placing people on antidepressants, something which I myself have never used, but both my brother and sister take. I came up with a little analogy for antidepressants, and this is how I personally see them. My life and my mental health is a dinner table. On that dinner table are a lot of dirty dishes and plates, which symbolize my depression. Antidepressants is like taking a tablecloth and just laying it over the table and the plates, and then trying to start again by putting new things on top. Eventually, the plates underneath the cloth are going to become unstable and everything on top of the cloth is going to collapse. In order for antidepressants to work, you need help to clear the table first before you put down a cloth to create a solid foundation.
I like that analogy.
What do you like about the analogy? That story was story one, guys, from Miller TV.
The fact that it's saying that you need to sort out the actual issue itself rather than just throw tablets at it.
Yep, I mean, I don't have big opinions on whether I'm pro medication, not, against medication. I'm not either, because I've had times that medications help me. I also had times that I felt the exact same way as Miller TV, that it was just masking the issues. And I found personally that therapy and dealing with the undercause of everything helped me.
I'm not always a big person on tablets. As Pinkster could tell you, even if I've got a headache or anything like that, I'd rather suffer than take a tablet. So sorting out the actual issue is more ideal for me because the long-term benefits of it will be far greater than the short-term benefits.
So, for example, if Diesel has a headache, rather than him taking medication, he acknowledges sometimes that he doesn't drink enough water and would go and rather
Drink
top up
water.
on water. Is basically what he means, rather than taking the medication to mask the problem.
The main reason for that as well is after a certain amount of time, your body will start to
Get used to the
get used
medication.
to all medication. So
I'm just going to read a couple of the comments now before I go on to the second story. She's a lovely auntie. She has been there for me through the hardest times and never turned her back on me. She lives in Portsmouth, so I don't see her very much, but we call a lot and she still sends me birthday cards and Christmas presents. She was more like a mum to me than my mum was. Ah, that's really nice. It's nice to have somebody that you're close to, even if you do live far apart, that you can call. It makes perfect sense. Oh, thank you, Bex. Hope you're doing well, lovely. Hope the Zoom call's going okay. We're not distracting you too much. I used to love being centre of attention, but all the bullying and negative negativity kind of broke that for me a bit, but I do still enjoy it sometimes. I will definitely take the spotlight to make others feel better though. See, sometimes I wish that I could like the spotlight. Um, and sometimes I get a sense of achievement through like a video or something like that I think, okay, it's only recently that I've started feeling it, and it's sort of like a little adrenaline rush, like, oh wow, people have actually taken notice of it, and I'm assured that that's a normal reaction, but it's something that I've never felt before. So maybe that's something like that. I don't know, but I've never really liked being centre of attention.
Maybe it's the sense of achieving that you like rather than
Yeah,
the attention itself.
yeah, maybe it's the my recognition coming into play.
Maybe
The more I'm recognizing that I'm achieving something, maybe.
maybe it's a way to range your achievement or to view your achievement rather than
Never
you
really
know
thought of it like that. I, I did. Oh yeah, I read that one. My foster carer pushed the doctor to give me them when I was 17. I didn't want them, but she made me take them. Now I rely on them and wish I didn't. Sky, have you ever talked to your doctor or the doctor that you have now that um that you don't want to be reliant on them? Because I do know that some practices and that do have like a program coming off them. I don't know whether or not you've tried it before, but if one way doesn't work, they have like multiple ways of sort of helping. If that is something that you do want to do. But guys, I just want to reassure that anybody that's listening, I am not anti-medication,
we're both not.
because when I needed the medication, it did help me at the time when I was suicidal, when I wasn't sleeping. Um, so that I do know that medication is needed for people as well. You can go make a
That's right.
tea and coffee if you want. My cup's empty.
Oh,
um, story one. We run this, that you got a problem. The way I see, either you can run from it or learn from it or face it. Because if you run from it, sooner or later you will have to face it, and it will be much harder to do at the time. Yes, my classic for that, Reaper, is I went through narcissistic upbringing, to which I hid from, mentally hid from. I then developed into two domestic violent relationships, pretty much one after the other, to which I hid from. Um, and then I finally dealt with it many, many years later, um, after the rape and abuse broke me completely. But before that, I pretty much ran from it, hid it, didn't want to talk about it, not even to close friends, strangers, not anything. So I can completely get that. The analogy of the fact that you've got to deal with the dirty dishes, rather than just putting a cloth over it, is a very good analogy. um Yeah, they are helping me come off them slowly. I am now on the lower ones, but still haven't been able to come off them completely. But I want to be off them before we try to have kids next year. Oh, you're gonna try next year? That is so awesome. Um, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. Um, with having a goal in mind of coming off medication and that. I really do hope that you're able to achieve it. There's nothing wrong with needing the outside factor to help your insides, and also we need to remember that it's a treatment and it's not something that will go away as fast. It's like diabetes. Insulin is now something that they have to take for the rest of their lives, and alas, antidepressants is a lot like insulin for our brains. The dosage has to be right. Yeah, I get that. What Nico's saying, 100%. Some people need the medication for the um like the analogy that Nico's said, to help everyday life, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. And to be honest with you, I know in a heartbeat that if I had or went back down a spiral, that I know for me what medication worked. My GPs and things like that all know, um, and already for me, that if I do decide later on that I need to go back on medication, which ones do and which ones don't work. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with medication if it's needed. Um, Either it was just a personal choice for myself at the time that I decided that therapy was the thing that helped me, and what I was struggling with in therapy was very much what Miller TV said, was that the medication at the time was blocking and covering up things for me. So, in able to sort of delve into them at the time of my therapy, I came off of them so I could deal with them, and I just haven't gone back on them since. Um, I know that in some way, and also I've become reliant on them. I literally became like a ghost, that I felt nothing. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean, Sky. I call it the like a robot mode. You're there, but you're not really there. I found it hard to sort of talk about things because it was like I was talking about somebody else. That's another thing that I had an issue around. I could talk about my trauma, but I was talking about it as if it was somebody else, and I needed to realign the fact that it was me that had gone through it. Um, I've seen how the right medication can help someone. My grandfather tried several different ones till there was one which it was obvious was helping him. Yeah, it's very much a uh sort of like you have to go through um different ones to sort of find which ones help, because where a medication might help me, it might not help Diesel or you guys, but what might help you guys or Diesel might not help me. So it is like it's a trial and error basically. Hey Leggett, how you doing, lovely? Thank you for coming over on YouTube. How you doing today? Right, guys, so I'm going to go into story number 2. Again, there is a trigger warning here. I just love the little trigger warning button. Bear with me while I'm reading it. And I will come back to your comments. Anybody that has any comments for story number 2, please make sure you put a 2 beforehand so I know which story you are talking about. So this permission has been given by Joey D83 to read his story. So when thinking back on my life, something I often do these days, I'm taken back on how eventful it has been. I have so many examples to give, but I really would be here for hours. I don't want to focus on them all per se, but rather the people you surround yourself with. To put this into context, I wanted to share my first traumatic life event with my most recent. I was born in 1983. At the age of 17, I got a job in a local hardware store. The manager would bring in prostitutes into work, take drugs, and drink heavily. This was my first forte into life after school, and I was pretty naive. So I just rolled with it. One day, he didn't turn up for work. I opened up my shop. I opened up the shop, and the hours went by until eventually the police turned up to let me, a 17-year-old, know that he had been in a car accident, an alcohol related, I would like to add that I found out later, and died instantly. As God is my witness, Mere moments after the police left the building, his brother arrived to ask where he was, the manager. I was shocked and confused, and again, still very young. I didn't know what to say other than the truth. After what felt like an eternity, he told me to go home. When I got home, my parents just didn't seem bothered. These things happen, son. You can't mope around about it. You need to get another job. Every time I spoke of it, I was told to get a grip, to stop being sad, and sometimes even mocked about it. That that set the bar of things for me to come. My mother would tell me that I don't know the meaning of the word depression, and friends would call me the miserable one. I was homeless at 19 and told to stop messing about. The further I went into the downward spiral as the years went on, the more I felt pointless. Nobody seemed to care or understand. I was made to feel like I was a useless burden every time something went wrong. I This literally lasted until 2018. I have constantly been made to feel like a useless joke who is always in the way. In 2018, my then wife had enough of me. She told me very bluntly that she no longer loved or wanted to be with me. At 35 years old, I was literally left to squat in a very rough area of town, separated from my two young children. My new friends brought me food, provided me with electricity, guided me, and kept me going. It was very close at one point, but instead of being told to get a grip and to get over it, I was actually pushed in the right directions and ways. I took medication, something that I would never have done before, as I was told that it was weak. I reached out to mind.org and the Samaritans. I even got a therapist and did CBT, something I was told when I was younger that was, well, a term that was used towards gay men. It took me 2 years of pushing myself and getting support from the right people, but I am here. I am far from fixed, but the fact that I was close to suicide while I was squatting, but now I'm very much in my own flat. Seeing my kids on a regular basis is proof that with the right people behind you, you can really do anything. I still have a long way to go, but if my story can inspire other men, specifically my age, to reach out for help, then then it would all be worth it. Don't get me wrong, I hope that it inspires as many people as possible, regardless of age and sex. I just know that men specifically from my generation struggle the most because of the examples given above. Don't let toxic people stop you from reaching out. There are good people out there who will help. Don't give up, and you will get where you need to be eventually. So that, guys, was story number 2 by Joey D83. I I felt like I was not myself. I hated it. I just felt like I wasn't there. It's taken years to be able to get to where I am now, and I just want to continue getting better and things, put something. Yeah, I get that, Sky. Um, I get that you want to carry on improving, but you make sure that you do it at your own pace and that it's something that you want to do. Guys, so I can totally relate to a few things that story number 2's come out. I was also told to pretty much grow up and get over experiences, even to my domestic abuse. I was pretty much told, well, you're out of the relationships now. You need to concentrate on getting better. And within a certain time period, I was made to feel that, oh, why are you still upset about it? You know, it's over and done with. Even to the point of my rape. So my rape was back in 2015. And sometimes when I bring it up with certain people in real life, they look at me with shock, like, why are you still talking about it? You know, it happened many years ago. You shouldn't still be feeling about this. You need to have an upper chin and you know, carry on with your life. Don't let him win, which is true. Not to let him win, and that's exactly what I'm doing by doing the awareness and everything else. But it's not something that you can just forget. It's not something that you can just um move past. You still have the depression, you still have the flashbacks, the CPTSD. It's not, you don't just go, I'm fine. And the stigma around manning up and um you know, stop being a waste of space and things like that, it's just, oh, it gets under my skin, especially um for other people um that have experienced traumas, um like the fact that the one person that he sort of knew in the shop that had passed away, and he was in shock. He had to deal with it at 17, to be told straight away, you know, these things happen, just get over it. It's just, it's devastating. My family are the worst for making me go backwards, as my sister is an alcoholic and is quite selfish. When I was at college, I was always known as the girl who cried, and someone said to me, just be happy, you can choose to be. This was horrible, as I didn't choose to be unhappy. I wanted to be happy and I couldn't. I was still trying to get my head around a lot of things that had happened. Yeah, I know what you mean. People choose to express, trying to say this nicely, express their arrogance through you know, be happy, man up. Because a lot of those people that are stigmatizing against it actually have the issue or an issue around mental health as well, and don't particularly want to admit it to themselves. So if they see it in other people, they tend to go, nope. And what people don't realize is when they say things like that, how much impact they have on that person's life, not just in that moment, but for the rest of that person's life. Because that one comment, that one arrogant, stigmatized comment can cause somebody's life. And it's so important to think about what you say, especially to people that, you know, are having that hard time. Because it literally can mean life and death for that one person. Number 2, I hate when people don't let others grieve and heal. Everyone heals in different ways and at different paces, and it pisses me off how men are the ones bottled up the most when it comes to emotions. Yeah, I completely get that, Neat. A lot of people, and another reason that I've got Diesel on here as well, is to show that men can have mental health. It is not a weakness. They shouldn't have to bottle up. They shouldn't have to mask their issues. They have the same right that women have, to be able to express it. And you are right in the sense that grief, people have different healing limitations to grief and heal in different ways and different paces. I know for myself that when I lost one of my nans, it was literally within a few months of my trauma. I didn't deal with it at that point. And I was told in therapy I hadn't dealt with it in that point. I had cried. I had what everybody else saw as the process, but inside my head, I hadn't dealt with it because I was dealing with my trauma. So I had to later revisit that as a part of the process because I hadn't grieved. I thought I had grieved, but I hadn't grieved. because my mind and everything else was so much fixated on what I'd been through a number of months beforehand. You're trying to get a little bit of tinsel in the thing. Where are we? Grieving can be over more than just the death. It can be the loss. Oh, the loss of many things. It's taken me time to realize that some of my problems were from grief, even though the person I lost wasn't dead. If you see what I mean. Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
I do see what you mean. Losing somebody doesn't have to mean death. So I do completely get that, Sluggish. Even in the sense, the form that my nan, before she passed, for a couple of years before she passed, she suffered really bad with dementia, and forgot who we were. She came back every now and again, but it was hard, and grieving somebody that hasn't gone but has. Yeah. The worst part is that those comments stick with us as life-changing markers, and they won't even remember having said them to us. Yes, that is one of the worst things, because there's somebody said something to me once, and I stewed on it for years, and I mean years and years and years, and it was a comment that very much effectively started one of my eating disorders that I have. And after I went through therapy, because my therapy was an intense 2-year therapy because of my rape, and we didn't just stick to that, we went for a wider thing. And upon talking about it, I decided to confront said person, and they didn't even know that when I was growing up that they had said those comments. They had no knowledge at all, and was quite shocked, and they were very, very adamant that they hadn't said that to me, but they had, multiple times. So I can completely get what you mean, and they are markers. They are markers for our lives, and that's what I mean. Like, people really need to think before they speak, especially to people, when it is a negative thing. There is such a thing as constructive criticism. I get that, but when you're just being plain narcissistic or nasty, with what you're saying, then don't, because it really does take that one little comment. It made me cry so much I had to go home. I went to my safeguarding manager, who supported me, and she let me go home, and but not before calling home. I was living in to make sure that they knew I was upset, so that I was so that they checked in on me. My grieving was from my childhood. I had the childhood I should have had but didn't, and for the pain my sister had caused, and my birth parents. Yes, it wasn't losing a family member, so people didn't really understand why I was grieving. Yeah, I get what you mean. So you was pretty much grieving the life that you should have had, and that you wasn't able to experience, Sky.
It's unreal.
Yeah. So we're going to go on to the next story. We've got two stories left, so I'm going to read the next one, because I'm very, very aware that we're at an hour and 25 minutes nearly. So permission again given. Trigger warning is going to come up. So this is from Valnico, 26. Story number 3, guys, for anybody that wants to comment. I first started getting depressed when I started high school. I had been bullied through elementary school and middle school, so I knew I had a very low self-esteem when I reached high school. Around my sophomore year of high school, I started cutting myself on my wrists, and eventually I wrote a note that I left for somebody to find. My parents took me to see a therapist about my depression, but that didn't last long at all. I didn't get the help that I needed until I was about 19, almost 20 years old. I went to see a local psychiatrist and she diagnosed me with ADD. She gave me medication for it, and the therapy helped some, but she ended up talking about herself the whole session. Eventually, she closed her practice because she was working multiple jobs and kept forgetting to bill her patients. Years went by, and about almost 3 years ago, I went to see my new therapist who diagnosed me with bipolar 1, and I was assigned a psychiatric doctor for my bipolar medication. My depression wasn't so bad anymore, and I felt like I could live again. So that's story number 3, guys. So misdiagnosis is actually more common than a lot of people are prepared to admit. I agree with a couple of these stories that doctors, healthcare professionals aren't as educated on types of mental health, depression in particular, as they should be, especially GPs. I've known many people to come and say, you know, I've gone countless times to my GP, I've been explaining how I feel, and they just don't know what to do other than throw medication at me or stare at me, basically. But again, I will say that the health industry are trying to make some changes. Some people are, some people aren't. But advocates like myself and other advocates are trying to make the difference. So my petition, guys, that if you haven't seen it, if you do want the link, do let me know and I will send it to you on a DM, is to bring mental health as well as victim blaming, etc., into education. Also into workplaces as well, to bring the awareness around different mental healths, etc. Because I do believe that education is the key to helping others. Because if they're more understanding, even if they can't do anything to help you, at least then they can, you know, send you to people that can help you and don't just look at you and go, here's a tablet, I don't know what to do, etc. My safeguarding manager at college and my counsellor from college were the ones who suggested I had BPD. It's good that they knew. Did it take a while then, Sky, for doctors to recognise that it was BPD? Because I do know that that particular one can get misdiagnosed quite a lot, I've heard. I then saw a therapist who diagnosed me, and all of a sudden things made more sense and I could get help and understanding from others that I needed. That's good. It's really good that you managed to get the diagnosis that you needed. I know that there's a few people that feel that they've been misdiagnosed that I talk to, that are still trying to get a diagnosis. It's really hard to go over the things even when people move past it. It's not that they forget the pain, it's not that they forget the instant. The pain is still there. People still remember what happened. What happened that ignorant people seriously don't know. Yeah. It is hard, Reaper, to move on from people's comments and that. I was diagnosed when I was 19, 20. Was it a therapist that diagnosed you, Sky? And it is worse for the LGBTQ plus community. People don't want to help them or are not prepared with the information that they need help. Yeah. The thing around that is because again, because it's different. and because there's not education around it, and a lot of GPs still work from very, 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 very old textbooks. And even though certain things get updated, things around this sort of subjects and stuff don't get updated. That, you know, training doesn't get done. You get the standard trainings and things like that, but I do believe that there is a place for an extensive new program to train around such situations. 2 to 3 years ago, so it took a long time. Psychiatrist. It's good. It's good that you It's good that you got the diagnosis. And upon talking about this, Nico, it brings me to my fourth and final story. Again, I'm going to do a trigger warning here for people.
You love that film, don't
I
you?
do love it. It's fantastic. So this is from our very own beautiful Bex girl. She has given me permission to read the story around that experience. So bear with me. I'm hoping I won't get emotional because this is one of my followers and I absolutely love this person, as I do all of you. So I'll try my hardest not to get this wrong. I can remember that even as far as 20 years or so ago, talking about depression would kind of draw some unsympathetic and judgmental comments from people like, oh, it's all in your head, pull yourself together, or what have you got to be depressed about? Come on. And also, buck up your ideas, among other condescending comments like that, which really hurt deep down and made me, the sufferer, experience depression, feel much more worse because I'd think to myself as a failure when actually I wasn't. And that would replay over and over in my mind. It felt like no one truly understood or cared how I felt, and that it was easy for them to dismiss it and belittle me. It was seen as being soft at the time, and I can remember telling myself that feeling this way wasn't the norm, and that if I was stuck in a rut, I'd never get out of it. I held back the tears on many occasions and tried to put on a brave face and get on with it, but in actual fact, I felt like going somewhere private and just bawling my eyes out. All the time, I thought how bad I was for feeling this way and that I should be better and be enjoying life and not wallowing in my own self pity and destroying my own health and well being by this way. Oh my God, I really didn't know what the hell was happening to me and why. It was one of the worst times of my life with no easy way out of this horrible period. I've had several battles with depression in the last decade or so. Some I got through in the short time, and some that took some time to get over, and still are. I have been on medication for it in the past with some mixed results, but a few bouts of medication controlled depression that left me in such a state that I didn't know what was happening with me. And I have to be perfectly honest with you, it scared the crap out of me. They gave me some awful and horrendous symptoms, coupled with crippling anxiety. I felt my body was being pumped with lead or something heavy, making it impossible for me to do much. It made me feel extremely empty and devoid of everything. It was like the antidepressants were controlling me and making me feel beyond what I was, and they had a really bad effect on my body. It felt like a huge black, big, thick storm cloud was over my head 24/7 and didn't want to leave me. I felt totally and utterly defeated, but felt powerless to stop it. How I was feeling. What the fuck is wrong with me? I feel so pathetic and useless, where the only thoughts occupying my mind during this time, and anything positive was being pushed to the back and replaced with the blackness and greyness of the negativity. What didn't also help at the time, 4 years ago, that I was fighting a very private, deep, and personal battle into my own self and my sexuality and gender expression. So I guess it wasn't a surprise, really. I felt I had to do something for myself, and I knew I had to either help myself by trying to work out what I needed to do to get me back on the road to recovery, or keep going down on in this bad cycle of wrecking myself. I have since May 2017 come off the antidepressants and decided to seek professional treatment. I joined my local mine down here in Kent and enlisted as a volunteer. They have been absolutely fantastic, and I have since then improved my way of life by doing things with them. I have also resorted to mindfulness and self-care to keep my depression more under control, and it is working, and I feel better. I still get depression, but now I control it and not the other way round. I am proud of myself in seeking the treatment and being honest enough to do so and get myself back again. And that was from Beck's Girl. There's lots of stories. But I just want to say thank you guys for everybody that was willing to have the stories put up. So I can't personally relate um to some of that, but the bit that I can relate to is the fact that so not many people know, but I am actually bisexual. And when I came out to my first domestic violent partner at the time, that I liked women as well, he responded extremely aggressively and basically told me that I couldn't like both. I'm either a lesbian or I'm straight, and that I needed to deal with it because, as far as he was concerned, that's not an option. So I get the part about dealing, having the mixed thoughts, feelings around the change, as well as sort of mental health and people not really understanding going through things. After much pushing from my safeguarding manager and where I was living, the mental health team took me seriously. That's good, Sky. I'm glad that they took you seriously enough to help you, because a lot of people have the experience that they don't get taken seriously, whether that be from their GP, therapist, friends, family. So I'm glad that somebody did take you seriously and help you. Just while you guys are, if anybody has any comments for the last story, I just want to iterate that we will be doing more podcasts on and around depression, and more specific ones on different types of depression disorders as well. And if you do have any subjects that you want covering, do let us know, and we will try to include them. But the thing that helped me the most was almost dying. Last year, I took an overdose. I felt worthless, and I had been bullied and been through personal issues. I took an overdose to try and block everything out, but I miscalculated. I had a seizure and ended up having to be on a ventilator for the night. I don't remember anything till 3 days after, and it scared the shit out of me and made me realize I didn't want to die and just wanted it all to stop. I'm sorry that it took to go to that length. This is another thing that I advocate for, that people shouldn't have to go to those lengths. They shouldn't have to be so down, so feeling alone, um, to that point to get help. And it's something that a lot of advocates advocate for. You shouldn't have to, you know, be at the point of risking your life um, to get the help. It should be prevention, not. Um, I've lost for words because it does. I'm not going to deny. It does make me angry because um, action should be taken before you get to that level. And people shouldn't have to experience that level for people to take note of it. We would like to remind everybody that is watching now, guys, as I'm very aware of the time, to remember to take time out of these subjects as they have been difficult today, and to take the time out for yourself and to self-care. Mine and Diesel Dog Shane's DMs are open. Our Discord, and I'm going to ask Diesel to put into all the chats, are open as well if you do want to join the community on Discord. But also, other than our chats, that there are brilliant organisations out there such as Mind, Samaritans, and Shout that you can contact. Those are in the UK. Or to seek, if you are out of the UK, other organisations that can help you, as I know that sometimes this can be a difficult subject, and to please remember to please self-care. Don't deal with this on your own. I am very aware that last time that we did a podcast and it was around anxiety, that it did affect a few people. I do apologise. My whole thing around the podcast is not to affect you or anything like that. It is just to get the awareness out there. So like a few did, do feel free after to DM me and talk things through. I've got all the time in the world to help you guys. I recently came out as pansexual after thinking I was bi. I like joking about pansexual definition and say, would you fuck a dragon? But I do hate people who claim to love someone and when the new truth comes out, they flip like it is the end of the world, when it shouldn't change anything because it doesn't change the person you're with. Yeah, I completely agree with that, Neek. Although the person was narcissistic anyway that had said it to me, if that person did actually love me for who I am, it shouldn't have changed their opinion on me. I still stick by the fact that that's the person that I am. Diesel very much loves me for who I am, so I'm very lucky to have a partner now that understands pretty much everything about me. Ollie was the one who had to call the ambulance and dealt with the seizures. The hospital weren't sure when I arrived if they could save me. That is awful, Sky. It really is. Nobody should have to deal with that. To get to that low without any help. And if you or Ollie do want to talk about that, and I say Ollie because obviously Ollie had the trauma and the stress of witnessing somebody that he loved go through something like that, and probably felt helpless. So both of you guys do feel free to DM. Yes, please do feel free to use the links that Diesel sent out to join our Discord. We are a lovely bunch of people. We do talk about other things. There are different sections in my Discord to do with mental health, chronic illness, as well as random ones that we sent Christmas trees on and pet pictures on as well. They really are hard things to talk about. They are indeed, Reaper. They are hard things to talk about, but somebody has to bring the awareness, and I very much put myself forward for that because I know that others find it difficult. And like I say, if I can change one person's life, which I've been told that I have done already, then it's worth it, and I will continue to do it day in and day out to help those people. I am going to have to end the stream now, but before we do, I would just like to say that we regret to inform you guys that this is the last podcast of 2020 before Christmas. This is due to personal commitments. I've got a lot of upcoming results and appointments coming up. So this will be the last podcast of 2020, but we will be returning in the new year with the podcast on Tuesday, the 19th of January. We apologise that there is such a lengthy gap between now and then. You will see myself and Diesel doing our gaming between now and then, but we just feel that we can't commit to doing an every week podcast because a lot of my appointments, there's going to be a lot of them, and I don't want to sort of say, okay, I've got to change this date or change that date or anything like that. So we've decided to take it as a little break from the podcast, but we will be coming back on Tuesday the 19th of January with some very exciting new podcasts coming up. Guys, just to let you know as well, if you do want to appear on Pinkster's podcast and you have sent an email to me, I will be sending out the applications forms over the next week to 2 weeks, and you will have the chance to pick a date in January to come and appear on Pinkster's podcast live. There will be a new outlay so that we can show the guest as well that Diesel is working on. And anybody that does want to appear as a guest, if you email me, it's pinkstarc87@gmail.com, or if you didn't hear that, or you don't know that, then do feel free to DM me as well, and I'll give you the email so that we can send you the application. Anybody is welcome to talk about any things, trauma, mental health, anything like that, or just appear and come say hey as well. Any upcoming events that they're doing, anything like that, because like I say, the Pinksters podcast isn't just around mental health and chronic illness, and that it is about general things as well. So do feel free to do that. Yeah, but Gmail's spelt different. Thanks, Pink. It was very difficult, and for me, made me least there is so much. I realised that there's so much more to live for. My nephew was the biggest reason to live, as he had already had so much pain from his mum. That's good. It is good, and we are very, very glad that you're still here, Sky. Reaper. Well, the thing that matters the most is what you think of yourself. Every person's great. They are. Every person's great. They are going through a lot and still pushing through. Oh, and still pushing through, in my books, is a hero. Yes, I completely agree with you, Reaper. I just want to say to everybody out there that I know that the Christmas period, the New Year period, and everything can be difficult for mental health, depression, things like that. And I know that, like I mentioned on my previous podcast, that the bathroom is going to be my safe haven over the Christmas period when I need a break, to have a few 5 minutes or so breathers. But guys, if you do need me over the Christmas period, I am still there. Even on Christmas Day, do feel free to DM me on my Twitter or Discord as well, and I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. I do know that a lot of people do find this time of year difficult. Take care of yourself. I wish everyone the best and send good vibes to everyone who needs them, and for those who don't need them, I can get them too. I love that. You're a warrior, and I'm glad that I can talk to people, and you and Diesel have been great in helping me talk about difficult things. Oh, I'm glad, Sky. I really am. I'm glad to help anybody and everybody. Like I say, guys, we will be back on Tuesday the 19th, but we are still around. You will still see me streaming my Sims or whatever game that I choose to play. Tuesdays will then, if I am streaming, will turn into a gaming until that date. But do have a lovely Christmas, no matter what you're doing, and know that myself and Diesel are there if you do need us. And Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all you guys. And thanks for watching Pinksters podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.